The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. Welcome to StarScope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Imagine watching a couple build an entire empire on just radical transparency. Like, they paint themselves as the ultimate ride-or-die duo.
Oh, totally.
You buy into their story, right? You root for them, and then overnight, the entire foundation just collapses.
It really does. And the story we're doing a deep dive into today it's completely fractured the internet. It actually sparked a trending YouTube video titled "New Claim About Jelly Roll and Bunnie Xo's Divorce Has Fans Divided."
Yeah, and honestly, that headline, it is just the tip of the iceberg here.
Exactly. So our mission for today's deep dive is to basically sort through this absolute pop culture shockwave surrounding, the sudden, completely unexpected divorce of country music superstar Jelly Roll and podcast host Bunnie Xo.
Right, because nobody saw this coming.
Nobody. And we've got a massive stack of sources to guide us through this whole labyrinth today. We're looking at verified court documents sourced from Snopes, Bunnie's own explosive tell-all on her Dumb Blonde podcast, which was wild.
Oh, so unfiltered.
Unbelievably unfiltered. Plus, we're pulling from these incredibly detailed Reddit threads from the pop culture community and some really fascinating insider reports from outlets like the U.S. Sun and Bollywood Sheddies.
So we're really looking at all the angles here.
Yeah, just laying out the facts and exploring what actually happens when a profoundly personal split just becomes, public property.
Because it really is a masterclass in modern celebrity PR. Yeah, honestly. And influencer economics, too.
For sure.
Like when a couple intertwines their marriage and their multi-million-dollar brand that tightly, a sudden fracture doesn't just, break a heart. It threatens the entire enterprise.
It really does. So let's get right into the history here. We are talking about a decade-long romance that literally came to a screeching halt over a Mother's Day argument.
Which is just crazy.
Right. But to really understand why this has fans in such a tailspin, you have to look at where they started. Because this was not your standard, Hollywood meet cute at some fancy gala.
Oh, definitely not.
They met back in 2015, and at the time, Jelly Roll was literally homeless. He was living out of a 1996 conversion van.
Yeah, and they built their whole public persona on that gritty beginning.
Yeah.
Like, they had that spontaneous Las Vegas wedding in 2016, and then just last year, in 2023, they actually went back to that exact same chapel to renew their vows.
I remember that.
They just weathered these incredible storms together, including Jelly Roll's massive recent physical transformation.
Oh, yeah, he lost, 200 pounds recently?
Yeah, about 200 pounds.
And he was out there bragging publicly, like he did an interview in Men's Health magazine saying this weight loss gave him the, quote, sex drive of a 17-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah, he was openly talking about how they were having daytime sex again and how incredibly connected they felt. So if you're a fan, you hear that, you see the vow renewal, and you think, okay, this relationship is completely bulletproof.
Which is exactly why the whiplash here was so intense for people. Because according to those verified records, the ones confirmed by Snopes and TMZ, Jelly Roll officially filed for divorce in Williamson County, Tennessee on May 18th, 2026.
That's out of nowhere.
Yeah. And the documents actually list their official date of separation as May 9th.
So for a brief window there, it was just total silence from both of them. But then Bunnie Xo just completely shattered that silence on her Dumb Blonde podcast.
So she definitely did.
She dropped an hour-long episode literally titled The Divorce, and she unleashed 8 massive revelations. First off, she confirmed this was not a mutual sit-down decision.
Wait, really?
Yeah. She stated they got into this huge, heated argument on Mother's Day, and just out of sheer frustration and exhaustion, she angrily told him to, quote, file the divorce papers.
Oh, my God.
And he actually did it.
That is just... it's a stunning admission of how fragile things really were behind the scenes,
Yeah.
She admitted she was speaking purely out of anger and didn't actually expect him to go to a lawyer.
Exactly. Let's unpack that dynamic for a second. It's like, imagine you're a pilot in a fighter jet, right?
Okay.
You get frustrated with how the flight is going. The turbulence is terrible. So you slam your hand on the red eject button just to blow off steam, just to make a dramatic point.
Right.
You never actually expect the canopy to blow off and launch you into the sky, but then boom, it does. You're suddenly in free fall, looking down at the jet flying away without you, just thinking, wait, I didn't mean it.
I get the visual, but honestly, It's almost too clean of an analogy.
Really? How so?
Well, hitting an eject button implies this sudden, isolated panic, right? But when you look at the grueling road they've been on, this wasn't just a sudden impulse or a random bad day. It was a pressure valve blowing after months of, profound systemic stress.
That's a good point.
You really have to factor in the context of their family planning, which she also addressed on that podcast episode.
You're right. That's a crucial layer here, because they have been very open about their IVF journey. Bunnie revealed they suffered the heartbreaking loss of 4 embryos, 2 sets of twins.
Yeah, and we really need to talk about the mechanics of in vitro fertilization to understand that toll. Because IVF isn't just, trying for a baby. It is a brutal medical gauntlet.
It really is.
You're talking about daily hormone injections that fundamentally alter your body chemistry. You have physically invasive egg retrievals and this intense emotional buildup that's just followed by crushing grief.
It's devastating.
It is. When you lose 4 embryos, you are processing a profound compounding trauma while your body is still physiologically flooded with synthetic hormones. It just creates an absolute pressure cooker in a marriage.
That makes total sense. You're already at your breaking point, so a standard argument just easily escalates into a relationship-ending fight. Now, while they were in that free fall, Bunnie used the podcast to firmly shut down some rampant rumors. She was adamant that infidelity had absolutely nothing to do with this split.
Right, despite Jelly Roll having admitted to an affair much earlier in their marriage, which they had worked through.
Yeah. She also had to shut down some genuinely bizarre internet chatter. Apparently, people were speculating she left him for Chad Kroeger, the lead singer of Nickelback.
Wait, Nickelback? That is so random.
I know. She flat out apologized to Chad and Nickelback for the sheer embarrassment of being dragged into the mess.
That's hilarious, but also just shows how crazy the rumors got.
Yeah.
She also outlined the logistics of the split, noting she's keeping the newly built Dream compound they've been working on.
Okay, good for her.
And all their animals, too, Crunch, S'more, and Chachi. And she brought up the modern dating landscape, pointing out that verified men with blue checks are already sliding into her DMs.
That detail is so telling. For anyone unfamiliar, a blue check in your DMs essentially means high status, verified accounts, like athletes, actors, other musicians, are quietly circling.
Yeah, it's the digital equivalent of vultures spotting a fresh breakup from a mile away.
That's exactly what it is. It highlights just how public and high stakes their social currency is right now. But she did say she isn't ready to date yet, though she claimed Jelly Roll already is.
But, the absolute biggest bombshell, the thing that really stopped people in their tracks was her announcement regarding their family planning.
Oh, yes. Here is where it gets incredibly wild. Because despite the divorce filing, despite the devastating loss of those 4 embryos, Bunnie announced that they are still having a baby together.
It's staggering. To announce a legal divorce and a baby simultaneously is almost unheard of in celebrity culture.
It really is.
And Jelly Roll's public reaction was equally unconventional. He addressed the crowd during a stop on his little A-Shed tour, and he totally backed Bunnie out.
He really did.
He told the stadium audience that they're still best friends. He reiterated that nobody cheated, and he thanked her for the past 10 years and for the next 30 years of friendship.
They even appeared in a YouTube vlog together shortly after, just joking and saying, "Plot twist, Bez."
From a strategic standpoint, their transparency is fascinating. They know that nature abhors a vacuum, right? Especially in the tabloids.
Oh, absolutely. The tabloids will invent a story if you don't give them one.
Exactly. By owning their narrative, getting ahead of the leaks, and presenting this united, albeit highly unconventional front, they are actively attempting to control the blast radius of this news.
And that's not even the wildest part. Wait until you hear how fans reacted to the "we're still having a baby" twist and the darker theories brewing behind the scenes.
Because while the couple is presenting this perfectly curated "we're still best friends" united front, public opinion is telling a totally different story.
Totally different.
If you look at platforms like Reddit, the fan base is entirely fractured.
Yeah, we took a deep dive into the our pop culture subreddit, and I gotta tell you, the cynics are out in full force. They are calling this a massive Hollywood cover-up.
A cover-up for what, exactly?
Let's look at the "we're still having a baby" announcement. A massive portion of Reddit users believe that a surrogate is already pregnant, specifically with a boy, according to some of these online sleuths.
Okay.
And the theory is that this surrogacy contract is legally and morally forcing Jelly and Bunnie to remain publicly amicable, even if they secretly can't stand each other behind closed doors.
Wow. And that leads directly to the authenticity question fans are wrestling with. Because you see comments asking, if there's so much love and respect and you're still best friends having a baby, why get divorced?
Right. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people.
Exactly. To the average person, best friends who respect each other and are building a family just sounds like a functional marriage. So the internet naturally starts searching for an ulterior motive.
Which brings up the financial theories. Some users are speculating that this divorce is actually a highly complex legal maneuver because Jelly Roll has an estimated $20 million fortune right now.
That's a lot of money to protect.
Yeah, and folks online are theorizing that this split is a calculated way to protect those assets from pending lawsuits.
Let's break down the mechanics of why a wealthy couple might actually do that, because it's a known strategy in high-net-worth circles.
Oh, really? How does that work?
Well, if you have an estate worth $20 million and you foresee pending lawsuits or massive liabilities coming your way, your joint assets are a massive target.
Okay, that makes sense.
By executing a legal divorce, you can formally and legally divide that estate. You restructure the wealth into separate legal entities, trusts, or individual accounts.
So they essentially build a wall between their money.
Precisely. So if a massive civil judgment comes down against one person, the other person's half, which might include that newly built dream compound Bunnie is legally walled off and protected. They sever joint liability while still functioning as a team in private.
Yeah, when you explain it like that, it makes the financial conspiracy theory sound incredibly plausible. But then we have the Nicole Arbour factor, and this is where the theories gain a very controversial face.
Oh boy, yeah. Nicole Arbour.
Yeah. She's a Canadian comedian who has been embroiled in a bitter, multi-year feud with Jelly Roll and Bunnie Xo. To give you the background, this goes all the way back to 2021.
It's been going on for a while.
A long while. It started over a falling out Arbour had with rapper Ryan Upchurch, who is a frequent collaborator of Jelly Roll's. It's this messy web involving a missing wallet and a dismissed copyright lawsuit.
Right, and fast forward to today, Arbour is publicly claiming this entire divorce is a manufactured PR stunt.
Which is a huge claim.
Huge. According to her, this is a calculated, cynical move designed to draw massive press attention right before the couple launches a new product or project. She even released a diss track targeting them called Cosplay Christian.
Yeah, and Arbour claims that because she has been whistleblowing about their behind-the-scenes behavior, Jelly Roll is losing lucrative brand deals. She even claims he's having to give away thousands of tickets to his current stadium tour dates with Post Malone just to fill seats.
It's a massive accusation.
Yeah.
I mean, faking a legal court filing to sell a product is next-level manipulation.
Honestly, I have to push back hard on this PR stunt theory.
Yeah? Why is that?
Well, if you look at the reality of Jelly Roll's brand, he has spent the last few years meticulously building an image as a reformed, loyal, devoted family man.
He definitely leans heavily into his redemption arc.
Right, and his Christian faith. Faking a divorce, shattering that wholesome family image, and traumatizing your fan base just to sell a product or a podcast subscription. Wouldn't that be the absolute worst possible PR stunt you could pull?
I see where you're going with this.
It completely destroys the core authenticity that made him famous in the first place. To me, it's just brand suicide.
I see why you'd think that.
Yeah.
But you really have to look at how modern audiences are conditioned to consume media.
Yeah.
You and I, and everyone listening, we exist in an attention economy.
That's true.
Audiences are so incredibly used to being marketed to at every single turn. We've seen influencers monetize their wedding, their apologies, their children's births, and yes, their breakups.
Ugh, yeah, everything is content.
Everything. So when the public is that thoroughly conditioned, they become deeply cynical. They start projecting conspiracy theories onto what might just be genuine human pain. The audience struggles to accept a simple, messy breakup because they've been trained to expect a rollout.
That's a really dark way to look at it, but you're probably right.
So while faking a divorce might seem like brand suicide to you, to a skeptical Reddit user, it just looks like standard influencer marketing.
Well, if you're loving these Hollywood twists and trying to separate fact from fiction, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. Because later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming. Could a dispute over a death threat and a battle of faith actually be the real reason this marriage crumbled?
Yeah, because to understand this final, arguably most critical piece of the puzzle, we really have to look past the Reddit theories and the PR stunt accusations and focus on a very real, documented incident that connects directly back to Nicole Arbour.
Right, because in March of 2026, things between Arbour and Jelly Roll escalated from internet drama to real-world police involvement.
It got very serious very quickly.
It did. Arbour claimed that Jelly Roll threatened to kill her at a charity event if he ever saw her with a camera around him again. And she didn't just tweet about this, she actually reported it to the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department and shared video footage of the altercation.
Now, the police reviewed the footage and ultimately declined to press any charges, citing the ongoing messy online back and forth between the two parties. But the legal maneuvering didn't end there.
No, it didn't.
Arbour claimed that shortly after the police dropped it, she was sent a hush-money deal by the couple's lawyers to make the whole thing disappear.
And, you know, when people hear hush money, they usually picture a briefcase of cash sliding across the table in a dark alley somewhere.
Exactly. But the reality of Hollywood crisis PR is much more bureaucratic than that. What Arbour was likely offered is a standard non-disclosure agreement paired with the settlement.
So how does that usually work behind the scenes?
The mechanics work like this.
Mm-hmm.
A lawyer says, we will pay your legal fees, and we will offer you a lump sum for emotional distress or damages. In exchange, you sign an ironclad contract stating you will never speak about Jelly Roll, Bunnie X, or this incident again, and you will delete all previous videos.
Wow.
Yeah, it's essentially a permanent legal gag order designed to suffocate a scandal before it impacts tour sponsors or brand deals.
But Arbour refused the deal, right?
She did. She chose instead to release her diss track.
And this brings us to those insider reports from the U.S. Sun and Bollywood shotties. Because according to sources close to the couple, this specific incident and how to handle Nicole Arbour was the actual breaking point of the marriage.
That is just wild to me.
It is. The insiders claim that Jelly Roll wanted to take the settlement route. You know, he is leaning heavily into his newfound Christian faith. He's guest hosting Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he's really trying to maintain a squeaky clean, corporate-friendly image.
Makes sense.
He wanted to apologize, pay Arbour off, and just buy his peace. But Bunnie Xo, according to these reports, was completely repulsed by that strategy.
She was not having it.
Not at all. She allegedly refused to give an inch, let alone $1, to someone who had spent years dragging their names through the mud online.
And Jelly Roll has stayed completely silent on Arbour's specific allegations since then, just keeping his head down and focusing on his stadium tour.
Right, but this creates a fascinating paradox, doesn't it? I mean, we're talking about two people who survived homelessness, who survived living in a 1996 van, who worked through past affairs, and who endured the devastating physical and emotional trauma of IVF.
A lot of history.
It's an incredible amount of history. So are we really supposed to believe that after all of that, they were torn apart simply because one wanted to sign a settlement check and the other wanted to fight?
I mean, I get it. It sounds totally trivial when you stack it up against homelessness and embryo loss. But if you look at the psychological mechanics of what's happening, it actually makes absolute sense.
Really? Explain that.
What you are looking at is a fundamental collision of core identities. For a decade, Bunnie has maintained this fiercely loyal, gritty street identity. It's a ride-or-die mentality where you never back down from a fight and you never ever let someone disrespect your family without consequences.
Right.
When you are broke and living in a van, that aggressive defensive posture isn't just an attitude, it is a necessary survival mechanism. It keeps you safe.
Oh, absolutely. If you show weakness on the street, you get eaten alive.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
But Jelly Roll's world has completely changed now. He is transitioning into this forgiving, highly visible, corporate-friendly preacher role.
Right, the mainstream darling.
Exactly. There is an immense amount of money, pressure, and liability tied up in maintaining a clean, inspirational brand. You cannot go to war in the mud with a YouTuber when you have a multi-million-dollar Post Malone tour on the line.
That makes a lot of sense.
What this situation shows us is how extreme wealth and rapid personal growth can cause two incredibly close people to suddenly realize they are speaking completely different languages.
Wow. That is such a profound shift. What kept them safe in the 1996 conversion van is the exact thing jeopardizing their multi-million-dollar empire today.
Exactly.
It really is the tragedy of outgrowing the survival mechanisms that saved you in the first place. You know, you can't take the armor off, but the armor doesn't fit in the boardroom.
That is so well said.
Well, stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next as we continue to track the story and all the legal fallout.
It's a stark reminder that beneath the clickbait headlines, the viral diss tracks, and the intricate Reddit theories, there are real people navigating an immense amount of psychological pressure while the whole world just watches and judges.
So, as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. When a celebrity couple builds an entire empire on being 100% unfiltered and authentic, sharing their darkest moments, their flaws, their triumphs, and their grief, what happens when the public decides that their real life heartbreak is just a marketing rollout? Can stars who volunteer to share absolutely everything ever actually have a normal breakup? Or does their trauma permanently belong to the internet?
That is a tough question.
You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.